Call meeting to order, Monday, June 9th, 2025 at 4:30 p.m. in the boardroom at the Weston Municipal Center, 4747 Camp Phillips Road. I'd like to welcome our guests. Is there anybody else coming? Not that we know of. Roll call, please.
Sagami,
Here.
Jordan,
Here.
Hubbard,
Here.
Lopes Ferrero,
Here.
Oliver.
Here. Public comment. Anybody like to speak? None. Thank you. Item 5, approve of 5/12/2025 Public Work Utility Committee meeting. What's your wishes?
I'll make a motion to approve the 5/12/25 Public Works Utility Committee meeting minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it. Item 6. Approval of 5/29/2025 Fuller Street Special Assessment Meeting Minute.
Move to approve.
Second,
Second.
discussion. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it. Item 7. Acknowledge May 2025 water and sewer permit. We don't have anything. At this time, I'd like to move item 15 up to item 8. If it's agreeable, I'll accept the motion for that.
Motion to move.
Item 15 up.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it. Thank you. Item 15. Refuse and recycling service contract.
Thank you. So tonight in front of you, we did print a larger breakdown of the spreadsheet that was in the packet that just talked about the cost analysis. We talked in the request for consideration that was in the packet that we did ask.
He was gonna come.
Mark, you're not muted.
Oops, sorry.
It's okay. We did ask in the
Is
RF,
that Mark Malone?
yes. In the RFC for a 5, 7 and a 10-year cost, and also a cost for both weekly and bi-weekly recycling, because we had some requests for weekly recycling. The weekly recycling cost was cost prohibitive at this moment in time, but we did share all of the 5, 7 and 10-year, and also where we are right now with cost. It's put as a special charge on tax bills. So the information in the packet also gave a comparison chart, and Valerie printed that off tonight too. You're gonna see 2 items that were highlighted that were just errors in the transcription between the RFP and what was distributed. And that's the fuel surcharge was slightly incorrect for Carter's. It begins at 401, and then that's corrected that it would go to 1% at 410, and then subsequent 1% for every 10 cents. And then is prorated for every cent in between. And then the increase in the CPI is for water, sewer, and trash collection, which is slightly different than garbage and trash collection for waste management. So those 2 items are highlighted. That was different than what was in your packet. Other than that, staff are.
Can you interrupt quickly?
Yep.
It looks to me like is there a conflict between, when I look on this sheet, okay? And on there it says annual price increase. You look at that WM and Harder's, and it looks to me like they're identical. But then on this page, there is a difference based on, so which is, I guess my first question is, which is correct?
This is correct.
Okay, so what's on here is not correct.
Yes, so waste management is gonna be tied to the consumer price index for water, sewer, and trash collection. And Harders would be tied to garbage and trash collection or 5% annually. When we would do the agreement, we could pick which one we wanted to tie to.
Okay, so the one, so that's, so this is then incorrect.
That's incorrect, that piece is incorrect. But what would happen tonight is you would, if you were so inclined, you would make a recommendation to the board for a company and a year, a number of years that you'd like to enter into an agreement. And then that would go to board and board would authorize staff to actually draft the contract. The contract then would come back to the board at a later point in time, but we would hope, you know, September, August, September, so we would know, so we could communicate to the public sufficiently about if there was a change or what that looked like and when containers would be and what the cost would be on tax bills.
Is our attorney gonna be involved in writing those contracts?
We would work that out if they had sort of a template to start with, and then we would work that through Attorney Edie and bring back a.
Or review?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. And they provide all the necessary insurance and everything else. I believe they have $5 million insurance, each of them, both of them practically, so.
Yeah, and the agreement wouldn't start till January 1.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else?
No, only if there were questions.
So I guess to Roy's question on the fee increases. So then this table does it correctly.
No, the table does correctly. It would be the annual increase after that.
The notation at the bottom of the table.
Yep.
The options.
I did not go look at those indexes to see how different are they?
So I did put on here what has been the last 12 months. So last 12 months for water and sewer and trash collection has been 4.9. Again, that was 12 months. The last 12 months for garbage and trash collection has been 5.2. And those were as of May, which was the most current 12-month reflection.
Okay. And we're looking for what, 7 or 10 years?
5, 7, or 10.
Well, we just probably between 7 and 10, maybe.
Yep, and I mean, it was in the RFC, but if you're looking solely at cost, the 7 and 10 year for Harders is the least expensive, the least amount of increase for next year solely at cost. It is a service agreement, so you can, I mean, that's why we are bringing it forward. You can look at all aspects of it, but it's also why we did the chart, because we thought it was helpful to break down where it was depending on year and cost per container.
Right. Thank you. Any question?
Do we ask for any fuel surcharge reduction? If their costs get below a certain level?
No, I mean, that's something that if you wanted to include it in the motion, though, we could work through in drafting the contract.
And you check all the references.
I did not call any specific references that they provided. We do have contact with some of those municipalities. Obviously, we're in contact with Rothschild and Corona Water, I mean, on a regular basis, but I did not call specifically to ask.
Okay.
representatives from both businesses are here tonight too, if you had any specific questions for them.
Right. I thought
We also just-
that's
I was gonna point out Dave Hagenbusher from Marathon County.
Yes. Also representatives from Marathon County Solid Waste, if you had questions.
So what's the, I guess, maybe I'm having trouble separating it, that, like, there's 2 5-year, 2 7-year, 2 10-years, what's the difference between like the top 5-year and the top, or the bottom 5-year?
It's if it's bi-weekly recycling or weekly recycling.
Weekly, okay, gotcha.
That's why the cost is.
Yeah.
was really high.
So has anybody heard any comment about weekly versus bi-weekly with recycling?
Again, we've had some residents that have called in that would like weekly recycling. I just don't, what it would be for the increase, I think it would be difficult.
it's too expensive.
For the amount of people that would actually use it, it doesn't,
Yeah, I agree. It really doesn't look to me like the weekly recycling would be a significant expense and, you know, so I can only speak from my own experience, right? But, I really can't see any reason to do weekly recycling.
I think bi-weekly is just the way it is.
Yeah, okay, all right.
And
I think we could all agree on that then?
yeah, yeah.
I would agree.
both entities would have a method to, if you had additional recycling, to dispose of that. Waste Management through their site at Fuller and Harders through their site in Ringgold, or they also put in their RFP that they would do an additional $2 per bag like we do with our overflow trash and could take recycling that way too. And then residents would have to come in here to purchase those stickers, both for garbage or recycling.
Those would still be picked up on that bi-weekly though.
Yes.
That actually, yeah.
Yeah, but if you had more than your container could fill.
right.
I think the only time recycling increase is the Christmas time. With all the boxes and everything else, sometimes it is overflow. But the rest of the year, I think it's okay.
Summertime, we might have people having backyard parties and stuff, and they might have an overabundance due to that, but
Okay, so if I had excess cardboard and we were using Harders, we would have to transport it to Ringgold?
Yes, or you could come here, pay $2 for an overflow sticker and then put it out with your recyclables, your container and your additional.
All right.
They pick it up with that $2, like.
Yeah. And the
So-
recycling site in Ringgold is located where then?
I have a map in the packet of where it is.
Kind of by Highway Q.
It's about 3.9 miles from here.
Yeah, so it is a corner like Q at 29.
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
And Jamie, is the bulk drop-off savings reflected in the 5, 7, and 10-year contract analysis, or is that in addition?
It would be in addition. The cost that you see in the 5, 7, and 10 is the cost for the container service. And then it would, Harders is including the bulk item and Waste Management would be the $55 a ton. And so then we've reflected what that $55 a ton has been on average. It's about $5,100 a year savings.
So you could figure over a 5-year contract, you're probably gonna be an additional $30,000.
Yeah, we did for the past, it's 6 years. At the time of this, we have the 2025 numbers that we will, for this spring, which we'll include for the board packet. We didn't have those at the time of this printing, but it was $30,000 for that 6 years. And again, we're working that into that. We're charging residents the $167 per unit on the tax bill. So although the numbers are, you know, if you took the 7-year number, we're gonna add a little bit onto that to reflect if we did have a fuel charge, or if there was that bulk item, we're gonna put it onto that cost. So just because the 7-year reflects the 172, we probably will work some math to adjust that number depending on how we proceed with an agreement. Either way, there will be an increase.
So the current waste management supplier, your name, please?
Chad Taylor.
Hi, Chad. Can you give me a little background on why the recycling costs have gone up so much dramatically more than the refuse cost? What's driving that?
Are you referring to the container, the curbside?
Yeah, right.
So just the cost of processing and marketing the materials and transportation. You know, the prices that we're currently looking at now obviously started almost 7 years ago. And the minimal yearly increases have only brought it to, I don't have the correct number in front of me, but $2.70 per home currently. Just the cost of processing of materials has gone up over the last 7 years.
And the value of that processed material is not what it was, or what's your perception?
It fluctuates, they're all commodities, so based on what the market values are at the time, there's times where it's not great, and there's times where there's a little bit of money to be made.
How much is a cardboard now? Ton?
I don't have that current number. I can certainly get it for you.
It used to be $70 sometime.
I don't know if it's at 70 right now, I don't believe so.
Okay, thank you.
Just out of
Do
curiosity.
you have that number?
I do not.
Okay.
I don't know if you have this information. What percentage of the recycling content is actually recycled?
Oh, the tonnage that we collect versus, so there's a certain amount of residual, right? The contaminants and garbage that actually don't end up in the stream. I could get those numbers from the MRF. I don't have that data now. If I'm venturing a guess, and it's only a guess, 15 to 20% would be contamination, and I think that might be on the high end.
And I just am curious because I watched a show about recycling, and they said a lot of this content that quote unquote you think you're recycling just ends up in the landfill anyway. They said like anything black and plastic, they don't recycle
Not
it.
always the case. So there was a big campaign years ago, right, where recycle everything. And unfortunately, it got to everybody was throwing things in that were recyclable, hoses, tanglers, and so forth. And now, you know, just about every MRF or every company is kind of dialed into here's the products that are truly recyclable and have another use. So again, I could pull numbers from our MRF in Germantown to get some statistics, but I would think 15% is going to be on the high end of what doesn't make it through the stream that's collected.
Just, and I realize it's probably a tough analysis. I just thought how much of the extra fee for recycling is just wasted. It's, you know, I think some of it definitely is a great, you know, wonderful thing, newspaper, aluminum, a lot of those things, but some of the plastics, I really wonder about how much of that ends up. You know,
Or some plastic, they just send it to landfill.
Mm.
They don't recycle it.
right.
So just looking at the 10-year numbers, if I have this right, so as like an average household, am I looking at a difference of paying $174 versus $172 as a household for these services?
Yeah, so right now you'd pay the 167.
Mm-hmm.
And it will go up to at least the 172, 174. Again, what that top line shows that cost is depending on if you have a 64 or a 96, but let's just do 96, is the 138. But we charge the 167 because of the addition for the bulk item. And if we had any fuel surcharge and the increase of CPI every year, so it will at least be that.
Our our recycling charge also includes our cost for Ryan Street maintenance.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
But as like a household, the difference between us picking one company versus the other to my household might be a difference of $2.
It would be more, slightly more because of having to do that bulk item. Because we would have to figure in the $55 a ton for bulk item in addition.
So Harder doesn't charge for bulk item.
They're including it in that price.
So
So it has to, then it will go to Wrinkle.
so at like 5,000 a year, it's that'd probably be about $1 per household. Big
Yeah, because we have approximately,
5,000 households.
yeah, between 5,000 and 6,000 households.
So I guess kind of where my brain is at for myself is, like, if I'm looking at the overall numbers, like just looking at 10-year for how much the village would save from one company to another, like, yes, those numbers start to separate village wide. But when it comes to my actual household, like, is it a little more narrow? And is there something to be said for keeping our services with a business that's within the village? And then also a business that's, I mean, yes, it's 3 to 4 miles for some people, but something that's a little closer to get to. I guess I look at that convenience and wonder, is it worth that minimal amount to each household versus that overall number? I don't necessarily, like, I'm not gonna be very angry one way or another, depending on what company we use. I just wonder about that benefit to the average homeowner, like knowing that it's a village business and somewhere within the village that they can access. I use the site out on Fuller all the time because of my wife likes to shop on Amazon, so I can't get all my cardboard in the bin, but yes, sir.
I'd like to just point out too that we do offer that small discount for the residents that still have the 64-gallon carts. And that's, roughly 650 homes within the village of town currently. So that does bring that rate down a little bit, about 46.50, I believe, per year. So that does help offset that bulk item difference.
We do have that on the spreadsheet there too.
If I may add something, my name's Nick Ackermeyer, I'm with Harder's Disposal. First of all, thank you for the opportunity. As Jamie has said, probably the best option would be the 7 or 10 year with Harder's. Probably the 7-year being the best option. The reasons to go with Harder's, number one, we're gonna put all brand new carts on the street here, matching carts, instead of the mismatched cards that you currently have, which are probably from 5 different suppliers out on the street now, or old advanced disposal cards with waste management stickers on them. You're gonna have brand new all Harder's matching cards throughout the village, which is on our end about a $600,000 investment in the village alone, just for all the cards. Number two, as far as the cost savings for a 7-year contract, you're looking at a total cost savings to the village and the town of $358,000, almost $359,000 over the term of a 7-year contract. And that's including the $35,000 for the spring and fall cleanup. If you were to choose Harder's for the 10-year contract, you'd be looking at $151,000, almost $152,000. Go with Harder's. And that doesn't include the spring and fall. The CPI is nominal right now, 4.9% to 5.2, but very nominal.
The 60-month water sewer trash is 4.4.
No, she pulled the current rates because I looked them up today. She has the same exact rates that I have written down. The same.
For 12, I did just pull up the 12.
60-month is a different story.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody else like to offer anything else or information? All right, thank you. What's your wish?
Do we know what the difference is, or have we looked back for the 5 years? I mean, I know we've heard what they've said
Do we know what the
in
difference
the
is?
CPI numbers.
What Jamie pulled up is what's posted today, because I pulled it up before I came to the meeting, and she's correct.
I mean, if you wanted a more historical look back, we'd have to,
I
yeah.
have that historical for the last 60-month average. Water sewer trash was 4.4%, garbage and trash was 5.12.
We'd also, I mean, with writing the agreement, we could say we want a 60-month look back or a 12-month look back. I mean, we would have, that would be part of the negotiation after this too. Or could be, I should say.
So we could ask them for the lesser of the two.
Potentially, I mean, that's. Can't speak for them what they would agree to,
Oh,
but.
understood.
yeah,
I said we
yeah.
could ask for them.
So if we extended this 10 years, we'd be guaranteed a 5%, well, shouldn't be more than a 5% increase annually. For a longer term, I'm just looking at how much difference there is in the increase from the current rate, the current 7-year rate to the current 10-year rate. So that's gotta be 10.40 to, as opposed to 8.76, right? Am I looking at that correctly?
10, where are you looking?
So I'm looking at the
7 versus 10.
the 7-year, so it's gonna be 10.40. And it's currently 8.76, right?
Yep,
For refuse, yeah.
yep.
So it's an 18% increase. So if history were to repeat itself, and you know, whatever the length of the contract is, how much is it gonna go up? But if we pushed it out there for 10 years and enjoyed the benefit of it only being 5% each year for the next 10 years, I wonder if it's and like I say, that's just, you know, guessing, you know, how much more it would be in 10 years, how much more that increase might be in 10 years. Well, it's like,
What if there's deflation?
yeah.
Then I think we could ask about doing the lesser of the two. If we picked a certain CPI, we could say CPI no more than, which I think is somewhat how ours is structured now. It's CPI, but no more than a certain percentage.
Tom, you have anything? No? Roy?
Yeah, I just say the numbers are fairly close. I mean, I think the convenience wise, I think waste management is a little more convenient. But I also think there is a benefit to getting some new garbage containers sometimes.
Yeah.
I know mine could.
They get a lot of beatings.
You know, And there is also the other part, which, I don't know, anybody that's in contracting and, you know, I know I am, if you don't award based on cost, pretty soon how many times do people going to bid a project, you know, or bid a service, right? You know, then there, you know, and I guess there is some way to meet in that respect.
324,000 over 7 years is what it is.
That's pretty bad, that's bad up.
Yeah, you know, and then I don't know the significance of, or if we're even allowed to consider property taxes paid as part of the inputs from, you know, in our analysis. But I do think it, yeah, for the 7 years, I think it's definitely advantageous.
Was? Oh,
I guess I'm inclined to recommend that we recommend to the board that a contract be drafted with Harder's and figuring out a way to manage or maintain that CPI at 5% or less.
is that a motion?
Is that for 7 years or did he?
7 years, I think is.
Yeah, 7 years.
I would say, yeah,
Best.
I would go with the 7.
I would also.
Yeah, 7 is the best.
I think I would tend to agree with what Joe's opinion is. I mean, I think that's a pretty significant number over that time period. And we get new cards, and I think 3.9 miles from our borders is not the longest community. I mean, I don't know, I mean,
Is there a second?
I will second it.
Discussion. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it, thank you. Thank you very much for submitting your bid.
Thank you, guys.
So it goes to the Board of Trustees on the 16th at 6 o'clock.
For me, that was really a tough call. I really want to thank the guys at Waste Management for the job that they've done for us.
We appreciate the relationship and we'll be around next time.
Thank you both.
All right. Item 8. CIP update. Michael?
Yeah, yes, Weston Avenue, they're looking to do some blasting of rock this week. They got clearance from WPS Gas Service. And just working on getting a foundation survey done for any of the structures a little east of Huron, kind of doing their pre-blasting analysis, so hopefully it's the last and they're able to get through that to continue sanitary sewer. So water main is installed through the Huron intersection, and they're getting with the rain, they didn't work today, but should be able to get water and sewer laterals completed this week and get that road rebuilt and graded out, probably pretty close by the end of next week. And with a goal of having that paved by the end of the month, at least through the Huron intersection, so that section of road can get opened back up. So they're moving as quickly as they can and trying to shuffle around to keep progressing on some value added work while they fight with the rock shelf a little east of Huron Street there.
Well, Michael, is that going to impact people that need or would want to hook on in the future as far as getting their lateral through that rock, or is that?
The laterals that generally will be higher. So the sewer in that area is about 25 feet deep.
Oh, okay.
And that's just to maintain, because Weston Avenue hits a high point at Huron, and then it comes back down, and then it slopes back up. So we needed to keep it deep enough so that when it comes back up, we get gravity service through that low point. So the low point's where the high lines go through, kind of at the edge of Buckburger's field there, and then there's Lindenwood Court and a few other residences. So it still serves would be able to gravity serve I think it's almost half a mile east of that low point, so. We went deep enough so that all that could come back to the west.
I don't remember, are you subbing out services for lots in that right now currently?
Correct, and then on, I think it's every other manhole, we have a higher kind of 8-inch main coming out at like 12, 16 feet. So it's above the rock depth, but
When he's gonna do blasting?
like I said, they submitted their plan on, WPS approved their plan on Friday. Well, they had to do some pre-structural analysis, plans for any of the houses.
You gotta let everybody know, take a picture, do all that stuff.
Yep. So, yeah, so they're in the process of getting that done, so, and their goal was to have everything ready by Wednesday this week, so.
Who's doing the blasting? Miller?
I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Some of them are better than the other.
Yeah, it's whoever Integrity has,
I think it's Miller, but I'm not sure.
so, so yeah, they're still moving along as best they can, but yeah, so yeah, laterals will be stubbed above that rock shelf, so.
So you're putting like a riser and then.
Right, yeah, riser will come up and then
Right.
over with the water lateral. Weston Ave, I guess, kind of just waiting for the weather to cooperate so we can get that paved and taken care of.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah,
I think Haas was gonna get in there and touch some of those spots up for this week. Obviously, I went by it, they weren't there today,
Yeah.
but. And I've touched base with Jason with American, and once that's ready to go, they're planning to do it, so
sure,
hopefully the next week.
yeah. Same thing, East Jellic Von Kennel, everything's been restored. There's grass starting to peek through a lot of the erosion mat. A lot of the asphalt repairs have been made. There is that still one noticeable dip, kind of in between Rodney and Kirk Street. Kind of the consensus was, let's let that kind of keep settling throughout summer so that then in fall, patch it and hopefully it's done moving on us, so. If you drive through there, you will keep noticing that little bump until probably late September.
It's gone down even more since I
Yeah.
was in the spring even, so yeah, it's probably a good idea to just let it sit.
And Schofield Ave, they did close down Alderson Street today, north of Schofield Ave. Again, water main installed there, kind of through that north portion of the intersection. And then they'll rebuild the road, put curb and gutter in, and pave that section so that this should be the only time that section of Alderson Street has to be closed to through traffic, so.
Nothing on the south side?
No, currently the south side will get shut down when the traffic switches over.
Right, okay.
So, so in effect, only one leg of the intersection has to be down at a time. So, talked to quite a few businesses last week who saw this advance notice of the road closure, so. Kind of was able to work through that with them as far as what that meant for their employees or customers.
When they switch everybody over back to the north side, is that gonna be open on the south? To
Yeah.
turn it like it was before going to the
Correct.
north? It'll still all be open.
It'll all be open until that, there's additional water main work then on south of Alderson there, so. It'll be open until that part of the project gets done, and then it'll be about another week and a half, 2-week closure to get that done. Yeah, let's see, Fuller Street, we have our pre-construction meeting with Melvin this coming Thursday, I think it's Wednesday this week. And we also had the special assessment meeting 2 weeks ago, so they're still planning to start the week of June 16th.
Doing construction, or are they doing or? I guess one of my questions was it just is a thing for me, I drove on Janus today on my way home. Went to turn on to Fuller and they've got 2 large trucks parked on the corner of Janus and Fuller. Okay, And there's like no way to see around those
Is
vehicles.
that WPS or?
The Intercon was doing work for
Intercon was at
WPS.
Okay.
And I don't know if they were relocating some stuff, but that was where we had to mark the force main for them
Okay.
today.
Like, you know, I mean, as soon as I mean, the first vehicle was literally right up to the intersection. And another large truck behind that. So if you're trying to turn, you're literally, the only way I could turn is to like edge, you know, because if somebody's coming.
Yeah, no, so we can talk to that. I mean, so those are the utility companies working on behalf of, I believe that was WPS.
Yeah.
As they are trying to relocate their lines prior to construction, so it's not a company that we're contracted with, but
I talked to them, I can talk to them and tell them they should give more sight distance if they're pulling right up.
At
to
least
the
on
stop.
the corner of an intersection. Yeah, I just said if they just at least given a truck length or something, so you can.
chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, now we'll follow up with them then on that. The other project outstanding or yet to be wrapped up is the Schofield Ave Mesker. There's still just a little bit of a sidewalk that needs to get done that requires some assistance from Frontier to raise some of their ped boxes. So I know that's still ongoing. Then we got our 3 Ross Ave projects that are all in various phases of design, so. We did meet with some of the property owners at Metro and Ross Ave last week. Thursday to kind of go over the grading limits and. That was more helpful for probably the Schofield residents there, showing them where the right of way acquisition will be, as they have, there's a lot more right of way being acquired for Schofield than in Weston at that corner, so. Going to make sure that they understand what those impacts are between temporary grading and then permanent road relocation and sidewalks. So. Went through that. Our storm pond, working, actually, ironically as the DNR was reviewing our Clean Water Fund loan application, asked us if we had talked to the DOT about partnering on the pond, since it will also be draining the DOT right of way. So
You said yay.
I said, well, we were trying to get the DOT to partner with us like 4 years ago. So yeah, so we do have a follow-up meeting scheduled here to see if we can get the DOT now partnered in on that as well. So that was a slightly frustrating yet I guess maybe somewhat exciting response back that they'd be willing to or see a need for them to be a contributor or partner in that pond. So keep going with that. We did have a kind of kickoff meeting on the Alderson Jelnik intersection. Ike's working with MSA on that roundabout layout and any necessary utility redesign. And the bike and ped master plan should be at the DOT's table for final approvals here.
Have you heard anything back from Banner yet?
We have not.
Is that the lighting, is that lighting still outstanding?
Yeah, they're one of the more involved subcontractors out on Schofield Ave right now with the traffic signals, and so I guess I haven't really been pushing them for a whole lot, just making sure they take care of what they need to out there.
No, I understand you guys are swamped. I just remember it was three months ago.
Yeah, no. And my understanding is some of the Rothschild board members who were more interested in that, insistent on that, are no longer on the Rothschild board. So I'm not sure how much of a.
I personally am not for it. I mean, I
Yeah.
think if you do that, everybody's gonna want them. It's a rural section, you know, that's my opinion. I know what way I'm gonna lean on it, so.
Yeah, so I haven't prioritized it.
Are there any other thoughts from anybody else on the committee? Maybe it's a proposal we don't need.
Yeah, I mean, the last I recall, it was a thing where Rothschild was kind of making the push and they were gonna be a partner in funding it. So for me, it was more about just seeing what the actual numbers were gonna be and the desire, but I know for sure, like when we looked at the WPS costs, it wasn't worth it and it probably wasn't gonna do the desired effect, so.
I'm in agreement with that. I don't, wasn't a very high priority to me.
So yeah, then, I don't know, not to steal Josh's thunder, but,
You-
well, 3 and 4, the treatment plant work is going on, currently underway. August Winters in there getting, demo done and working on getting, the piping together for the granular activated carbon. And then our, well 3, design and safe drinking water loan application will be submitted at the end of the month here. So we can get that part of, this upcoming funding cycle, so.
So Michael, that activated carbon, how often has to be replaced?
We're estimating probably about once a year. A lot of it's gonna depend on how much we pump the wells and,
Is the hazard waste or no? I think it is.
yeah, so my understanding is there's 3 landfills in the country, maybe one more than that, that we'd need to, haul it to. On the positive note, we are starting to receive some of our, PFAS settlement funding through the 3M lawsuit. So, I was teeing it up for you. But, so we're getting about 1.8 million back from 3M for PFAS money, which, in talking with Jessica, we'd be looking to kind of create our own PFAS fund for that so that we'd use it for media change outs and, those items moving forward, and hopefully we can invest it to a certain amount so that that isn't something that ratepayers long-term are paying for, and we can utilize the settlement money to offset that cost.
What is that cost? How much is per ton?
Talking with, AECOM, they figured it might be about $100,000 a year.
That's a lot.
So if we have, you know. So that's the 3M settlement. Overall, we're probably gonna be somewhere in the 2.25 million that we get back between 3M, DuPont, BASF and Tyco. So, I mean, if things work out, I mean, we should at least get 20 years out of that, if not more.
If you invested in a market, you get interest of
Correct. Yeah,
over about 100,000.
yeah. So that's kind of the goal, is to see if we can stretch that out long term. And hopefully by the time it needs to be replaced, maybe, we've gotten it all out of the water and it's, we'll see.
Then they fund something else, okay?
Correct. Yeah, but maybe then that waste isn't, considered hazardous and it's cheaper disposal or something like that. So yeah, we'll keep, so we did get, the initial $375,000 deposit. I don't know if that was today or late last week.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's fine.
Josh did a lot of that work, so, really kudos to him. There are definitely, attorneys and other, legal entities out there willing to assist, but they also took about, I think it was 40% off the top, so if you think about 1.8 million, 40% of that could have gone to a law firm instead. It's going back to our ratepayers as far as, money in our funds, so. Unfortunately, Josh doesn't get a cut of that.
No. 0.5%?
So. That's probably the gist for our big projects right now. Unless anybody else has any other questions?
it?
That's it for me.
Okay. That bike and pedestrian master plan.
Yep.
Do you plan to work a contract out with them or what?
So the DOT, because it is, it's a Transportation Alternatives Program grant through the DOT. The final contract gets negotiated by the DOT for their rate. So I mean, it is set at the $60,000 mark that, was approved, so
How much we paying?
So we got 48,000 in grant funds, so our portion is 12,000, the DOT pays the 48,000.
Any question from Michael? Josh?
No?
Well, the forest is next.
You're on.
Oh, I'm up? Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna skip over streets today? Okay,
We'll come back to streets.
we'll come back to streets. All right,
Did I miss the street? No.
Yeah,
According to this report here in front of me. But yeah, according to agenda, you're right. That's okay, go ahead.
okay.
Then we go back.
So up top, we got some of our miscellaneous well stuff, chemical feed stuff as usual. Lateral inspections are continuing, got some photos in the report. I included a picture of our temporary tanks that Mike kind of touched on for our well 3. Those will be reallocated to our iron manganese removal system once our well 3 treatment project starts up, hopefully end of this next year. Valve exercising should be completed now. I think they wrapped it up end of last week. Couple of main breaks and service breaks we had to assist on over on Randy J. We had one main break over on Von Kennel and Preby, kind of over by what 50-50 was. Volkman, what did I say?
Von Kennel.
Von Kennel. I did put Von Kennel too. It's Volkman. You're probably like Von Kennel, Preby, where's that? So Volkman and Preby. There was also a service leak over on Summit, included that picture. Our guys have been out assisting on a lot of the projects that are going on. Usually it's a daily occurrence to have to go check in on a couple projects there. So our guys are keeping busy with that. Got pictures, more pictures. Suicide of stuff. Guys been doing the lift station cleaning, so there's been quite a bit of maintenance we've had to do on some of our floats and transducers, getting some odd alarming. So Stacy's been busy taking calls with some of our alarm issues going on. We did have to pull a pump for repair over on Progress Way. We're getting some pricing on trying to just replace both of the pumps. The pump that's in there is quite expensive when it was constructed, so we're looking to maybe replace it with something more uniform to our system. Vac truck is new one's basically ready to go. We're actually very thankful we have both vac trucks. We've been able to utilize both of them for different needs that we have going on now that we have our lift station cleaning happening. We collected all of our pH data, cleaning some bad spots, had some general maintenance on our generators as usual. SCADA project, it's getting closer. I think everything is, we had them in, was that last week? Went through some of our alarming sequences. Guys have noted some stuff that we have to take a peek at. Hotline tickets, getting a lot of those, a lot of work orders still coming through. Michael touched on our permanent PFAS project. So well 4 and 3 remain off. Our well 7, 8, the VFD issue. So I actually got a call later this afternoon that the other board for well 7 is in. So I think they'll be here tomorrow to install the board for well 7 where we can get that up and running. Maybe we have a few weeks of pumping to the system and then we can kind of schedule our water main flushing finally. So then we'll have to see how we're gonna juggle the schedule with that and our other stuff. I guess the only other thing, so our lift station cleaning should be wrapped up probably this week, and then we're gonna probably jump on to our sewer jetting. We have one of our summer help kids, I guess, our summer help employees is here. John Borth's son, he'll be helping us with some of our sewer jetting. Other than that, we have our customers added, water pump data, wastewater flows, and our lift station hours for the month. That's it for me.
Fox Street, how did it work out?
What part of it?
The pump, did you replace pump or?
Oh, no, that's,
Put them back in?
yeah, they just gotta get some muscles and dig some of those plugs out, and then it's usually pretty good to go. Sometimes that can cause some seal fails, which cause other issues, but seemed to go back in fine. It's just one of the things that we'll have to put out some notice what to flush and what not to flush again, so.
And then the other one is Cedar Creek. What's the status of that Cedar Creek project?
I think it's still just in kind of easement acquisition nightmare, I guess. I don't know when's the last time we even heard back.
Yeah, no, that's on the to-do list as soon as we get a little capacity. So.
This is who's doing the easement, what state?
So I gotta work with MSA, I just finished up the Weston Ave right of way, so. Catherine is finishing up another project over in the Green Bay area, and she said probably in a month or so, we will sit down and go over the scope of, the Cedar Creek, interceptor route.
Taking a long time.
No, I know, it's, we've had a lot of other projects and items pushed through and just.
I think they should move on with the project, cause
Yeah, I mean, we don't have any agreements with them, that's our initial start to it, was a rough design, and then we had some DNR pushback on wetland fill, and then trying to get some correction on the original easement compared to where the pipes were installed, and there's a couple odd factors where the pipes aren't where they initially were, so. It's more tedious.
next meeting, we have something?
Can work on getting something for next meeting.
Okay.
What's the longer term plan? Once we get all 8 wells back up and running, are you just gonna balance it out between them, or what is the?
Oh, when will that be?
I'm assuming there's gonna
2028-ish?
in a year or.
Yeah, so, once 7 and 8, we got those pumping, then hopefully end of next year. 3 and 4,
Or at
maybe
least
into
4.
27. So well 4 should be up pumping through the permanent PFAS treatment, end of this year. So then well 3 iron manganese side will get into next year, probably into then 27. So if we have 6, which is kind of up northeast, if we would have 6, 3, 4 over here and 7 and 8, then we can kind of let our 1 and 5 that's over by Kennedy Park, which are kind of our iron and manganese producing wells, really just use as needed or just to kind of exercise them. But at the same time, once 3 is done, that's when we're gonna hopefully be getting going on our 1 and 5 treatment plant as well. So we'll have iron manganese removal, PFAS too. We'll have to have a PFAS removal system over there as well. So I think we were looking at the kind of routes of how we're gonna pump. Do we need raw water lines? How do we design in pumping 1 over to 5's location to then take the raw water from 1 to, so so would that be 2028-ish, 9?
Probably.
By 2030, we might have all wells pumping.
Yeah,
That
but
is the time, okay.
I think
Yeah.
probably, huh?
the goal would be once we,
And once 3 and 4 are good, I think we can kind of maybe hit pause button and just kind of keep 1 and 5 and maybe take our time and see what we need to do for that.
And even, we've done our best right now to minimize what 1 and 5 pump to the system. A lot of our water quality complaints have gone down just because we have better water getting pumped out there. And even our chemical treatment costs, the sequestration, I can't say the word. Sequestration of iron manganese, that chemical isn't a cheap one, so especially if Bladel's pumping at 800 gallons per minute as a worker, while being able to notch that down so it's only maybe that last 5 feet to fill a well, or kind of that emergency boost right away to get it up from low level to okay. That seemed to work out. So yeah, that's kind of the thought process is make it as minimal percentage of the water pumped as we can.
Is there any thought to shutting it down then, or is it, no, we need that in place is,
So the DNR requires you to have so much capacity, and it's usually based on if your largest well is offline, say we're doing a rehab. You know, can you still provide your maximum day demand with your remaining wells and your capacity of storage? We do have a storage deficiency, and which was why we were allowed to build wells 7 and 8. Because instead of building a new water tower, they said we could build 2 wells so that we could have excess capacity to make up for our storage deficiency. So that'll be a discussion, I guess, maybe in a couple of years of do we want to invest in a new water tower somewhere so we can have additional storage versus do we want to spend money on bringing those wells up to better standards of water quality. So, you know, because there's a cost to either, you know, or do we do both? Do we have to, at that point, do we have to do both? Do we end up with some new industry or further subdivision expansion, something that would require us to keep going? So, and that was a discussion too. We probably should get a revision of a water master plan going just to, you know, it's been about 6-7 years, I think, since we did our last one. We've made a lot of things. We have quite a few projects in the queue. So now where do we like, you know, kind of a quick pause and reset of we've accomplished this. Is that still our priority, or do we need to slightly, you know, detour? So.
Anything else?
thank you for the color.
Yep.
Okay. Street operation update.
Yeah, staff is prepping
By the
for.
way, that corner looked really nice.
Oh,
Thank you.
yep. Prepping for the storm sewer extension, starting on Sternberg Avenue, getting that prepped. To put the actual storm sewer in before the overlay for the blacktop goes in. Spring cleanup was finished, and due to the late heavy snows, there was a large amount of brush that slowed us down a little bit. The grass got done on schedule, but we were just a few days off schedule for pick and brush. Just field of field calls for that. It was done in a relatively smooth fashion. Mitch King and Son is crushing our recycle pile. The gravel will be used throughout the street projects, including Fuller Street reconstruction this year. The DPW is also constructing shoulders on Story Avenue, prepping it for the road surface to be repaved, in addition to adding culverts and an extra 3 to 4 inches of recycle over the top, to help beef that road up for better traffic from Aaron to Anastasia. The DPW has worked with the park staff along Schofield Avenue on the irrigation project, including the digging in and digging out of the irrigation pipes and relocating heads and lines. Staff also finished up restoration work at the Ryan Street lift trailhead site with adding a retaining wall, hydro seeding, and finishing the topsoiling, and striping is looking to take part for the lines and all that this month. Shop operations, Kyle and Brian are working on converting the shoulder machine from the grader mounted to a loader mount. The machine will use hydraulics off the loader instead of an old Wisconsin engine that was from the 60s. Unit will be fitted with hydraulic cylinders instead of hand operations. All the steel was in inventory, so the cost is very minimal to do this repair. Other shop works include completion of auction items are sold, 4-in-1 fabrication bucket, mowing equipment all repaired, strobe lights installed on the message boards, truck number 70 serviced and replaced lift body cylinder, and the sprayer will be installed on the truck number 231. We're going to use for spraying dust control on our gravel roads.
Anything else?
That's all I got.
Any question?
How did East Nick hold up this spring?
It was better, put up signs again, there was less traffic on it, I think people got the idea that the road is not in any condition to be driving on, so.
Anything else? Item 11, Public Work Committee Ordinance Review. Michael?
Yeah, so I know this came up a couple meetings ago and you'd asked to bring this back in its entirety. Kind of reviewing what the ordinance says the role of the Public Works and Utility Committee is, so. I think, like item 3 here, the village's refuse collection activities, that was, a pretty big topic earlier today. A lot of it is the construction and maintenance of our streets, utility systems, guidelines for our public works projects. The main one that came up was probably the any proposed changes, improvements, remodeling additions to the municipal center building or other village property.
Is that operation of the facility? We have nothing to do with the operation.
No, it's just the physical, I guess,
Usage?
makeup of it probably, so if somebody said, hey, we should put an addition on a well house, you guys would say, yeah, we should put an addition on the well house, or we, and maybe that's the discussion of what do we consider a, if somebody wants to paint a wall, I don't know if that would be included.
I think we talked last time significant. We felt unless walls were coming down or being put up, that wasn't significant.
As a general, I think it's a good idea. Every couple of years, do a report or review the facility to see how it's functioning, like, heating, air conditioning, how's the walls, or how's the, painting, how's the parking, and just a short report, nothing, take a lot of time, but at least take a look at it and see what has to be done to keep it nice and pleasant.
Sure, yeah, that's probably something we could do a better job of even, we've got a lot of utility buildings out there that we probably don't acknowledge enough, or even you guys maybe even realize are out there, so.
Right, sure. Yeah, I think we should do that, sure. Even if it's not in the ordinance, I read the ordinance and there was only 2 places I saw, they were talking about the building. But no place said we have to do anything specific.
Yeah, and I guess, I don't know, maybe once a year, we should just kind of review this, make sure we all are back on the same page, like these are the duties of the committee, and I guess if there's anything we feel needs to be modified, or if there's things you read through here and you're like, hey, we really don't do that.
Yeah, I think if we look at everything, all the property we have, excuse me. And if there is a problem with it, let's talk about a problem, see what we can do to fix it, or
Sure.
what's the cost of it, and that sort of.
Yep.
All right. Anything else?
I'm not
on
in
that
favor,
issue?
not in favor of writing any more regulations than we currently have.
We're not talking about regulation, we're just talking about what we have to do to keep this building
Yeah,
going.
I'm saying that's where common sense comes in.
Yeah.
And we don't need more. Try and I guess it's one guy's way of looking at something that's written in somebody else's, and the reality is that let's just use common sense and follow up on these things on a regular basis.
Right. Some of the parking need the seal coating at least every 3-4 years. And crack filling probably every other year or whatever. And doing this kind of a maintenance, it prolongs the life expectancy of the facility and those, parking or whatever. In our heating and air conditioning, I think that's important. Keep with the maintenance of it, and I don't know, we're doing it every 6 months, or how often we maintain those heating and air conditioning system.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of our facilities like wells, we don't have air conditioning, but we do have heaters.
Yeah.
And I guess some of that stuff we do take care of and probably don't update, or maybe it slides into one of Josh's monthly reports that we, replace the heater at a well house or something, but, other
Those
than,
filter has to be replaced, at least every 6 months,
yeah. Yeah, so I mean, we do take care of those things. Those are part of our, even some of the standard operating procedures for our wells and lift station buildings, include, some of those checks on the electrical HVAC,
Yeah,
system,
if
so.
we do that report, short report, and we say that, yeah, we replace the filter every 6 months. If somebody take a look at it, they know you guys paying attention and,
Yeah.
anything else?
I would just be open to adding the word significant to item 10. Review and recommend any significant proposed changes.
Okay,
And I would just move it, I'll just move and propose that that be amended to include that word significant. If anybody wants to second that.
I'll second that. Discussion?
So going back to when we discussed this last time, I think to me, it, again, like Jamie said, we're talking about walls, we're talking about things where it's changing, I guess, the normal use of a facility. The only other thing I thought of since we discussed it is, if we're changing public access to areas, if we're saying this area that was once open to the public, we're changing, like, let's say we decided, okay, this room is now going to be the offices for public works or something, like, we would want to discuss that because that impacts the public. But everything that happens behind the walls that all you folks use and stuff, I think it's kind of within your purview to decide who gets put where and how things get used, as long as it's not causing big changes, so.
Well, some of the, let's say carpet, it has a life expectancy, has to be replaced. It is not in anybody's hand really, people usually walk over it, and you bring a mud in, and so has to be replaced. If we talk about it and organize it, so if when the time comes, there's a budget for it, they can do it right away. And we don't have to search for that stuff, for a budget or do that, then. That's the purpose of it, I guess. All right, did you make a motion?
Yeah.
You second that? Yeah. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, I have it, thank you. Item 12. Acknowledge spring surplus action results.
yeah, we did sell, several items there. Total amount was, just a little over 14,000, which then goes back to our capital equipment fund, so. So like for this van, for instance, sold for 4,750, so. Went through there, if anyone is interested, just try to keep you guys updated on what,
I'll move to acknowledge.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, I have it, thank you. Item 13, resolution 2025-011. A resolution to approve the compliance maintenance annual report, CMAR, for Weston Sewer Utility.
Yeah, so this is just our annual kind of self-evaluation of our compliance maintenance annual report for our sanitary system. I mean, I guess the purpose is for us to evaluate a wastewater treatment system for problems and deficiencies. It's just kind of an annual look back at where we were last year, and what we can work towards, for the upcoming years, what projects we have that involve the sanitary system. I guess the only kind of key points I would see in this is this report reflects last year where we did have a portion of our new vac truck came out of this. I guess nothing too exciting to report on. I guess if you guys have any questions on it or wanted to see something, I know there's some rollover from stuff that we've been working towards in previous years. I think we took a step forward last year where, we're really trying to get some of these excursions that we find at times where it's just trying to find a needle in a haystack at times. So we are we spent a little more money to get some more pH probes where we can kind of canvass our system a little more, so it's not getting notified by Red Mountain Metro, hey, we had this pH spike, where did it come from? And then we're trying to chase it. So we should have some of that more, a few more, we'll have 7, 8 probes now that we can kind of put out where we can actually start kind of narrowing the window where if we keep having this, we can kind of start honing in on areas where then we can utilize what we have in our ordinances to kind of recoup any kind of costs that some of these businesses potentially could be putting into our system that, you know, they shouldn't be. You know, we also want to get on top of some of our more, once we get out and do some of our sewer cleaning, once our new camera works like it's supposed to, we can go and then televise it and really start finding areas where maybe we don't necessarily have to do a full replacement. You know, we have areas in Rothschild where we can't just say, hey, we want to replace the sewer here, because then we need to probably replace the whole road. So if we have areas that we can clean and televise and see that we can line this, you know, we have a great engineer on staff now that can start doing some of this design work, and then we can, you know, maybe push it down the road a little bit where we don't have to do any kind of major replacements of our sanitary system. So our list of projects continues to grow. Some of those should hopefully be coming off the list here this year, though. But then I know going into next year, we got a few other projects with a sanitary impact, so.
Question for Josh?
There is a recommended language for official action. Who will make a motion? Could you please read that?
I move to adopt resolution 2025-011 to approve the compliance maintenance annual report for Weston Sewer Utility and submit to the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources.
I'll
Second.
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have a thank you. Item 14. Resolution 2025-012, authorizing resolution for Fuller Street reconstruction.
Yeah, so those of you who are here for the Fuller Street special assessment meeting, these rates of the 5.17 for the asphalt driveway approach and 1180 for the concrete drive approach is what was in the engineer's report. Residents seem for the most part okay with everything going on, and
I thought that was well received.
yeah, they're more or less just anxious to have the road done, so. As I really don't have anything else to add, the resolution, I see I wrote the wrong number in there, so it is 1-2.
2025-011, correct?
Yeah, it should be 1-2.
1-2.
Yeah, all right. Well, otherwise, yeah, it's just moving forward with that.
I'll move to recommend the village board approve the authorizing resolution 2025-012 for special assessments for drive approach construction, Polish Street, Schofield after Ross Avenue reconstruction project as presented in the engineer's report.
There's a second.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have a thank you. Item 16. Purchase of an air tow trailer.
So I probably should have just had Brian go earlier, so sorry, hopefully you enjoyed this. So this is
That's
Brian.
what Brian is here.
This is Brian Schmidt, our fleet foreman. So I don't know if you want to explain it but we this year we did kind of put more or less a lump sum in the CIP for public works equipment. From that to date, we've purchased a used grader and the hydraulic hammer. So this would be another purchase out of that fund for a new trailer, which Brian can go over if you have anything.
Well, I didn't really bring my notes with me.
You didn't bring your notes for you, okay.
If you have it wrote down.
Yeah, so it's I include the pictures in here of one being used. So this trailer is hydraulically lifted, so it can drop flat. We can drive equipment in and out, or even if we have material on the trailer like topsoil, we'd be able to drive into the trailer, scoop it out. Whereas the current tilt trailers, I think you had it in there, the incline is too steep for some of our equipment to adequately make it on and off, and is it the top one that's homemade?
Yeah, the top one is homemade,
So,
and the bottom one is too light for much of our equipment. Really do.
so we're looking at a trailer that could replace, one trailer that replaces both of those, and is a little more user friendly. And
My discussion on this is, I think it's a great idea we're replacing this. What I wanted to bring up as a point is that paragraph that says this trailer will replace 2 existing trailers. A 2004 tandem axle trailer that has a maximum load capacity of 10,000 pounds and is often overloaded. That's illegal and unsafe. Is the way I read that.
Yeah.
I mean, I have trailers and they have defined capacities, that's it. And there's a real safety issue with why you don't overload trailers. That bothered me. And then I read the second trailer and it's often not built heavy enough to haul our asphalt roller. So which leads me to another question, which is, are we aware of other items that we are overloading, overusing, it's
No,
not
what-
safe?
What happened is when we updated our equipment, the equipment ended up being a little bit bigger than what the trailer could haul. So we're addressing the issue by updating the trailers now.
Okay, so it's not that we're going around with 15,000 pounds on a 10,000 pound trailer.
No, it's.
Okay, because when I read this, I went, if we're doing things like that, that should not happen.
yeah, probably should have worded that differently, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, is that I did not like, did not like to see that.
Yeah.
Okay, what's your wishes?
I only have one other question, why somebody has a 2023 sitting on their lot yet? I mean, is it actually new or, you know,
It
returned
is
from
brand-
somebody else or?
It is a brand new trailer. They have 2 of them. And they must have just been left over the equipment that didn't sell. So.
This is probably not a very common trailer in terms of.
It probably isn't. It's.
Right, like I look, yeah,
I would guess your general contractor just gets a tip deck trailer.
Yeah, well, I would agree, it's a very unusual trailer.
right. I mean, that may be why it's,
I don't agree with demand.
yeah.
Okay,
I move to approve the purchase of an air tow trailer from 51 Trailer Sales for $22,790.
and a second,
Second.
discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, I have it, thank you. Item 17, lease buyout of a street sweeper. Michael, before you start, how often we use the sweeper?
At least once a week.
Oh, that's great. I like that. I like that. Because I think the major street has to be get attention, like Schofield Avenue.
Yeah.
Ross Avenue. Now Weston Avenue, I think Weston Avenue gonna stay clean for a while at least.
Yeah.
But Schofield and Ross, definitely, they need, attention.
That's generally what it's used on more routinely. We don't necessarily get to all subdivision streets that, more than maybe once or twice a year, but the main thoroughfares are.
So now, how long we have these things? How long, when did we lease it?
So our lease started in May of 2020, and it was a 6-year lease, so I guess really just looking at the payment schedule, it makes, I think, more sense to just buy it out right now versus paying the extra fees that come with holding it for that extra year, and then it is ours too, so if we want to look at purchasing a new one or anything like that, we have ownership over it and we're not,
So how many miles we have on it? They don't have a lot of them left.
It was.
it's more hours.
What was that again? Say that again, please.
I just said it's kept track of by hours on this piece of equipment and I can't recall exact from the top of my head.
Yeah, it's tough job for that machine. I think you have a lot of breakdown of different parts on it.
It is, yeah, there's definitely a lot of moving parts and
That was one of my questions. Are we capable of doing the maintenance if we purchase this?
we have that, so the lease agreement that we
Okay,
have.
but I didn't know, I wasn't sure how the lease was structured. Okay, so we were doing it anyway.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
And then if we purchase it, how long is gonna last for us?
I mean, that's the option. We can trade it in.
Right, yeah.
So and you know, like I said, looking at a new sweeper, it was around 400,000. Our buyout of this one is 136. I forget what the original purchase price was. I wanna say it was close to 300,000. So I mean, I think the quotes we initially got back even for like our sewer truck. If we were to go sell it on the market right now, our old sewer truck, we probably could almost get more money for it than we paid for it. And our street sweeper maybe won't quite fit that bill, but we could probably get a fair amount of money for it if we wanted to look at purchasing a new one.
What's your wishes?
Move to recommend the village board buy out the existing street sweeper lease and purchase the street sweeper for $136,320.
I'll second. Did you second it? Tom?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have money for it, right?
Correct, yeah, it was part of our CIP for last year.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, I have it. Item 18, sidewalk extension project.
And then I guess for those of you that are coming into the audience, this is the end of the still part of the Public Works Committee meeting. I'm guessing you're here for Plan Commission, which will start when we're done here, so. You're not missing anything and welcome. So
Michael,
yep, so for the sidewalk extension, so we've had a couple that we've talked about as a committee and also one that staff has been approached with from a local daycare center, kind of just inquiring about sidewalk extensions around the village. So Heat of Life has asked about getting it extended from the roundabout to their property on Sandy Lane. That's about 300 feet. We've discussed, extending the sidewalk on Schofield Ave from Hunt Street, where it currently ends on the south side, over to Quick Trip. And then also just in general, like the sidewalk on Schofield Ave, east of County Road X, is only on the south side of the road. And there's been discussions in the past that there's neighborhoods and other destinations like Williams Park on the north side. So is there a need to then put that on the north side as well? These will be items that are discussed as part of our pet and bike master plan as well. But figured it never hurts to start discussing some of these things. We do budget a certain amount every year in our maintenance budget for sidewalk replacements, but that's generally for existing sidewalk that needs to be replaced because it's tripping hazards or it's been broken, busted, sunk, tree roots pushed it up, whatever it may be. So, like looking at the Sandy Lane one, that distance at roughly $40 a linear foot would be about a $12,000 cost, so, as we look forward into our capital plan, do we try to allocate a certain amount every year for those incremental projects? And then if we identify a bigger one, we say, okay, we'll do nothing for 3-4 years so that we can cover a longer block. Or, after we hit a certain dollar amount, do we want to say this project is definitely worthy of a standalone project and we need to budget for it?
We can build this section by section too.
Correct. And that's what I was saying, like, so if we allocate, say, 20, 30, whatever the number is that the committee thinks we should do, we can get so far every year.
Yeah, on Schofield Avenue, that's the longest one. If we can break it apart, probably we can do it that way.
Mhm.
And I think is the important part of it is a safety issue.
Yeah.
And also usage. So, and then you had the number in there at $40 per square foot,
A linear foot,
linear foot.
so a 5-foot sidewalk, roughly $40 when you factor in removals and placement and restoration after the fact. Well, we capitalize all of our infrastructure at the end of every year, so that's roughly the average price per linear foot of sidewalk over the last several projects. So it includes some engineering costs and, you know, that allocation. So yeah, if you looked at strictly a bid number from a contractor, it'd be less, but that would be more or less the total cost for, you know, grading, removal of existing sod or whatever it may be, and then the new sidewalk and restoration. You know, and a project like that by Sandy Lane and talking with our own staff, that's probably within the threshold where we could probably do that in-house with our own staff. I don't know if we wanna go much bigger than that, just, you know, some of those sidewalk crews, they've got, you know, 15 guys out there taking care of it right away. We don't necessarily have 15 people to throw at a sidewalk project, but we could handle us, you know, some smaller loads and handle those sections, so that's an option as well.
So you're asking for 15,000?
Those were just questions out there.
I know, but how many linear foot we can do with that 15,000?
So that'd be about 300, 400 feet, you know, I guess. So this was more or less just to kind of get that thought process going.
I like the third option personally.
Yeah.
That give them 15,000, tell them a budget for that, and they can use it as a small project, but if it's over that amount, then I think it should come. And
Probably 20,000,
maybe 20, yeah.
15, I don't know how you come up with 15.
20,000, yeah.
I just picked a number and
I'll pick up
For- yeah,
a
to start
I like
discussion.
20, just a round number.
Sure.
Yeah, I like the idea of having just an amount allocated, and if you see the need, they can go ahead, and do it in-house, but if it's gonna be a $400,000 cost.
Yep.
I agree, we have to discuss it and break it up, or we gotta go get a bid.
Correct, yeah, definitely, on anything like that, so it was just trying to get some feedback on that, like how do we wanna, how do you guys wanna direct staff to handle those?
I'll set a motion on that.
I'll move to recommend that the village board allocate $20,000 annually for sidewalk repairs or additions.
So extensions.
Extensions as determined by staff.
Is there a second
I'll second.
discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, I have it. One other thing I asked Michael was this nice fence on Schofield Avenue. It is so nice. I mean, that thing is about 30 some years old. Since I remember it is there.
Yeah,
And I don't know who own it, if people own it or we own it, something has to be done to it. It can't be just like that.
so he's referencing the fence that is along the backside of properties on Holly Avenue. So from Von Kennel Street heading west back towards Camp Phillips.
Maybe we should just plant some evergreen or some shrub or something.
That-
to-
We've had that conversation up with the enforcement meetings, that fence, it is owned by the property owners and that condo association that's there, so we are trying to work with them.
We can, I mean, one section is just broken practically because he got hit with the vehicle or something.
Yeah.
And then some area is leaning, some area is, it's the same thing as River Park. At River Park, they were gonna just replace section of it. They end up replacing the whole thing because do you touch them, they just were falling down, they were spoiled after so many years, you know?
Sure.
It's the same thing here. And it's in the main street of this village. So something should work on that. Item 2025 to 2029 capital improvement plan discussion. We want to do that next meeting because we are,
Yeah, I can add to it a little more next meeting. I add, so at the, whatever month that was, May meeting, we're now in June. Okay. In May, I kind of went over some of the streets, so then this month I was adding some of the water, sewer, stormwater projects into that. So just kind of trying to take it at a little chunk at a time.
sure.
But yeah, we can,
Let's add that one to the topic for future meeting, because we already have A, B, and C, which is the village-wide Wisconsin Public Service street lighting.
Yep.
Weston Avenue, Alderson's Bridge, and that's the lighting also.
Yep.
And conservation of Ryan Street yard material. Let's add that one to that item 21.
Sure.
Is
Are we
that
gonna
okay
keep
with
talking
everybody?
about the Weston lighting or?
Yeah, do we just wanna strike
Yeah,
21?
Well, let's just get rid of that, cause I don't think it,
Okay.
we need it at all.
I just left it on there until you guys told me to take it off.
Well, I think you can take it off.
I think we all agree.
If Rothschild reapproaches us about it or whatever, we can look at whatever they propose or wanna discuss, but
Sure.
I guess we don't need to keep it on.
Okay.
Okay. Next meeting, Monday, July 14, 2025, 4:30 PM. That's a regular meeting. And item B, Monday, August 11, 2025, at 4:30 PM as a regular meeting. So that's item 20, item 21, future topic for future meeting. So which one did you want to take off? The one on Birch Street?
That one.
Item B. Okay. Then you're gonna have a still 3 item for next meeting.
Yep.
Remark from staff? Okay. Remark from committee member?
I just have one quick one, I just want to say thank you to Josh. You know, that savings of 40% of 1.8 million. That's a real number. And thank you for your efforts on securing that.
Hopefully we get a lot more from the other three that are sticking us with PFAS.
Kudos to the staff for working on RFP for the village waste management. You brought something pretty complicated into something that we could easily understand. So good job in getting that ready or prepared.
Okay, I don't have anything. Item 24, no announcement. I accept a motion to adjourn at 6:07.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I have it, thank you very much.